books that priests confiscated and burned, books that monarchs sealed inside imperial archives, books that scholars copied in secret and signed with false names. The Naritasan Shinshoji Temple in Chiba still holds demonological texts behind restricted access, unavailable to the public without institutional clearance. We call them yōkai encyclopedias. And here is the part that almost nobody seems to want to discuss honestly. These are not superstitions dressed up as folklore. They are a working taxonomy, built by specialists who treated classification as a form of containment. The names you must never pronounce, the sigils you must never trace, the pacts you must never sign. Welcome. This channel exists to read what was never meant to be read, and tonight we are doing exactly that. Tonight we open 3 of these books. From each one, a single entity, the one its own author warned should never be named aloud. What follows is esoteric tradition and religious folklore. Read closely. I am not making metaphysical claims, but the same warnings surface, century after century, in texts that never met each other, written by scholars who could not have compared notes. And some of those patterns persist for reasons we do not entirely understand. That matters now because this material is not safely in the past. The Imperial Household Agency in Tokyo still restricts access to Heian period ritual documents connected to Onmyodo practice. Living institutions are still gatekeeping this knowledge. That is not ancient history. That is a policy decision made this decade. If the darker corners of esoteric history fascinate you, subscribe. Every week we read what was never meant to be read. If you go to the National Diet Library in Tokyo today, you can request a reproduction of the Gazu Hyaki Yagyo, the illustrated night parade of 100 demons. Toriyama Sekien completed it in 1776, and it remains the most forensically organized demonological bestiary in Japanese literary history. It catalogues over 200 supernatural entities across 4 volumes, each entry accompanied by Sekien's own woodblock illustration. This is not a ghost story collection. It is a classification system built with the precision of natural history. Now, we need to travel backward in time to understand what Sekien was actually doing. By the 18th century, yōkai had accumulated centuries of oral tradition, scattered temple records, and contradictory regional folklore. What Sekien attempted was synthesis. He pulled from Heian period court documents, Buddhist canonical texts, and local legend, and he organized them into a single coherent taxonomy. The tradition tells us he was also a painter of some commercial reputation, working in Osaka's ukiyo-e tradition, which means his audience was not exclusively scholars. Ordinary people bought these books. They read the names. The legend attached to the Gazu Hyaki Yagyo is older than Sekien himself. The Hyaki Yagyo, the night parade, supposedly moves through the streets between midnight and dawn on certain calendar nights. The tradition tells us that any person who witnesses the parade directly, without ritual protection, does not survive the encounter with their spirit intact. Supposedly, the experience does not kill the body. It empties it. What returns home in the morning looks like the person who left, but something essential has been displaced. Sekien, by this logic, was not just illustrating monsters. He was illustrating a parade you were never meant to see. But here is the line that has unsettled scholars of Japanese folklore for 2.5 centuries. In his preface, Sekien writes, and I am working from Noriko Rider's 2010 translation, that the entities in this book are presented so that the reader may know their faces without calling their attention. Read that again. Know their faces without calling their attention. That is the operative logic of the entire volume. The warning is not that the entities are dangerous to look at. The warning is that being looked at is what activates them. Sekien is not writing a manual of invocation. He is writing a manual of recognition, and the distinction, for him, is everything. I want you to notice what the preface does not say. It does not say these entities are fictional. It does not say they are metaphors. It says, here they are. Now, do not let them notice you noticing. Not a disclaimer, a protocol. The word yōkai itself carries this logic inside it. Yo, bewitching, seductive, strange. Kai, mystery, wonder, the thing that resists explanation. Fused together, yōkai is not a label for a creature. It is a verdict on an encounter. It names what happens to the person who meets the thing, not the thing itself. There is no historical record that Toriyama Sekien suffered any unusual fate after publishing the Gazu Hyaki Yagyo. He lived until approximately 1788, continued painting, and trained several prominent ukiyo-e students, including Kitagawa Utamaro. The legend of the night parade predates him by at least 4 centuries, appearing in Heian period Setsuwa literature. What fascinates me about Sekien's project is its internal logic, the idea that a taxonomy could function as a firewall, that naming something carefully, completely, and in the right register could substitute for the dangerous act of naming it aloud. The system is not designed to protect you from the entities. It is designed to protect you from yourself. And that distinction is precisely what the next source in our anthology was built to enforce. Because where Sekien worked in ink and woodblock, the specialists who came before him worked in ritual, inside the most heavily guarded court in Japanese history. Pull the timeline back further, past Sekien's woodblock studios, past the Edo period entirely. We need to travel to the Heian Imperial Court, Kyoto, roughly 794 to 1185 CE, a world so obsessed with invisible threat that the emperor employed full-time specialists whose only job was to read the invisible world and report back. Those specialists were called onmyoji. They operated under the Bureau of Onmyo, a real government institution, catalogued in the Enjishiki, a 50-volume legal and ceremonial code compiled in 927 CE, and still held in fragmentary form across several Japanese national archives. The onmyoji drew from a Chinese cosmological system called onmyodo, the way of yin and yang, and they were not mystics on the fringe. They were civil servants. They had offices. They filed reports. The most celebrated among them, Abe no Saimei, served the imperial court from approximately 960 CE until his death in 1005, and the records of his consultations survive in court diaries of the period, including the Mido Kanpakuki, the diary of Fujiwara no Michinaga. The tradition tells us that the onmyoji understood time itself as a variable in spiritual risk, not just what you did, but when you did it. And the most dangerous hour, according to the ritual literature they worked from, was a specific threshold they called omagatoki. The legend continues that at omagatoki, the liminal window between late afternoon and full dark, what we might call deep dusk, the boundary separating the human world from the world of spirits, grew thin enough to become permeable. Supposedly, certain ritual actions performed inside that window did not merely symbolize contact with the unseen, they constituted it. The tradition tells us that the onmyoji were explicitly prohibited from performing certain naming rituals during omagatoki, not because the names were wrong, but because the hour made them operative. Here is the line from the ritual literature that I keep returning to. The Heian period onmyodo texts, as reconstructed by scholar Shigeta Shinichi in his 2009 study of court divination practice, preserve this instruction. Do not speak the name of the thing you seek to bind during the hour of meeting, for the hour is itself the summons. Read that again. The hour is itself the summons, not the practitioner, not the intention, not even the name, the hour. The text is locating the operative power not in the human actor, but in the structure of time. I want you to notice what it does not say. It does not say the ritual is dangerous because you might make a mistake. It says the ritual is dangerous because the hour has its own agenda, not the speaker, the hour. Omagatoki. Let that sit for a moment. The word breaks into oma, meeting, encounter, ga, a possessive particle, and toki, meaning time, time of meeting. But what you are meeting is specified in the older usage, the demons. The full archaic gloss is closer to the time to meet demons. The Japanese language built the danger directly into the clock. Time, in this cosmology, is not neutral architecture. It is inhabited. Now, to be precise, there is no surviving complete onmyodo ritual manual from the Heian period that modern scholars have authenticated as a unified text. Much of what we know is reconstructed from court diaries, later Edo period compilations, and the work of scholars like Shigeta Shinichi and Hayashi Makoto. The onmyoji were not writing instruction manuals for posterity. They were filing operational reports. But what fascinates me about the tradition is not whether the rituals worked. It is that an entire branch of the imperial civil service was organized around the assumption that language, time, and presence were entangled, and that the entanglement had rules that could be violated. The map they were drawing was not of demons. It was of thresholds, and the most dangerous threshold was not a place, it was an hour. Every tradition we have examined so far, Sekien's visual taxonomy, the onmyoji's temporal warnings, arrives at the same quiet conclusion. The danger is not ignorance. The danger is incomplete knowledge, wielded at the wrong moment. Step forward now into the early Edo period. The year is somewhere around 1660 to 1700. The setting is a private room, lit by 100 candles arranged in a circle. This is not a temple. This is a parlor. The Hyakumonogatari Kaidankai, translated roughly as the gathering of 100 ghost stories, is a ritual game documented in Japanese popular literature from the mid-Edo period onward. The earliest printed reference appears in a 1660 collection called the Otogi Boko, compiled by Asai Ryoi, a Buddhist priest and prolific writer whose work is held in collections at the National Diet Library in Tokyo. The format is precise and consistent across multiple surviving texts. 100 candles are lit, 100 ghost stories are told, and after each story, one candle is extinguished. As the room darkens, the tradition tells us, the boundary weakens. The legend continues that at the moment the final candle is extinguished, the room now in complete darkness, something arrives. What arrives is never specified in the earliest texts. The tradition does not name it. Supposedly, participants who completed the full ritual reported presences, voices, physical disturbances, but here is the detail that every surviving instructional text agrees on. You are not supposed to finish. The ritual contains, encoded inside itself, an instruction to stop before the 100th candle. Here is the line that has puzzled folklorists for 3 centuries. Preserved in a late Edo period commentary on the Hyakumonogatari tradition, the instruction reads, "When the 99th flame is gone, let the last one burn." The ritual is complete in the wanting, not the having. I want you to notice what that does. Complete in the wanting, not the having. The ritual is designed to stop one step short of its own conclusion. Read that again. The text is not saying the final step is too dangerous to attempt. It is saying the ritual is fulfilled by the act of restraint. The completion is the stopping, not the arrival, the refusal. Kaidan, the first word in Hyakumonogatari Kaidankai. It is often translated as ghost story, but the etymology is more precise and more interesting. Kai means strange, unusual, a departure from the expected order. Dan means talk, conversation, a step on a staircase. Kaidan is strange talk, but Kaidan is also, written with different characters, the word for staircase. The tradition lives inside that homophone. Strange talk is the staircase. The word itself is the architecture of ascent towards something you are not supposed to reach. Now, to be clear, the Hyakumonogatari Kaidankai was almost certainly a social entertainment in its original form. Folklorist Noriko Raida, in her 2010 study of Edo period Kaidan culture, argues convincingly that the ritual frame was a storytelling convention, not a sincere occult practice. The candles created atmosphere. The prohibition against the final candle was probably a theatrical device, a way to leave the audience in productive dread. But what fascinates me about the internal logic is this. The tradition chose to encode its warning not as an external rule, but as the structure of the ritual itself. The game teaches restraint by making restraint the winning condition. The ritual does not ask you to be brave enough to finish. It asks you to be wise enough not to. Every source we have examined left a warning inside the work itself. Not as a footnote, as the architecture. They wrote them the way a man who has crossed a minefield draws a map for the next traveler. Not so the next traveler can admire the landscape, so the next traveler can live. The manuscripts are still there. Tokyo, Kyoto, the National Diet Library. Catalogued, studied, read mostly by scholars who treat the prohibitions as folklore. The texts do not seem to mind. Do not name it. Do not complete it. Do not speak at dusk. The tradition does not ask for your belief. My friends, tell me below, which one unsettled you most?